Welcome back to another episode of Sports-Fixx. I'm your host, Carson Becker. We're back talking about the college football playoff rankings that came out last night, the new 12-team playoff. A couple of changes here. Nothing too crazy for changes here other than the new Power 5 team that comes in. Tulane gets that 12th spot now. So not too many changes, a couple of drops, a couple of new teams get in, but nothing too crazy. Of course, I'll just go ahead and get started. Ohio State stays at 1, Indiana at 2, and Texas A&M at 3. No changes there. Georgia jumps into the 4th spot after beating Texas by a lot, and Alabama losing at home to Oklahoma. So Georgia now sits in the 4th spot. You got Texas Tech at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Oregon at 7, Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Alabama drops all the way down to 10, Miami is at 11, and Tulane is at 12. So, not too many changes. You got a new Power 5 school. You got Oklahoma jumping in. You got Alabama dropping a whole lot of spots after losing to that Oklahoma team. And you got Georgia moving up a spot into the top 4, getting that first round bye at the moment. And so, we got a couple of new matchups that I'll talk about here, see who I think would win those games at this point in the season. And also, Miami sitting there at 11 is kind of all for naught, because most likely they're not going to win the ACC championship, so they're kind of just being a placeholder at the moment, not going to stay there unless a whole lot more craziness happens there in the ACC, so that is also going to change. But starting out with some new matchups, Tulane's in the 12th spot, plays Texas Tech in the 5th spot at the moment. That would be the game. I would probably take Texas Tech in that one. I don't think Tulane can keep up. Honestly, most Power 5 schools aren't probably going to be able to keep up with most of these teams, so a lot of the time it's just going to be me picking that 5 seed. And then Texas Tech would go on to play Georgia in the next round, and I would probably have Georgia winning that one. So, nothing too crazy there. I think that would be a pretty good game. Texas Tech, Georgia could be a good game, potentially. I think Georgia, maybe with how they're playing right now, they could just blow some teams out here in the playoff. They're peaking at the correct time and really playing at a high level, finally playing 4 quarters, so they're looking very good. Notre Dame, Oklahoma, I think that would be a great game. Jeremiah Love, very hard to stop. Oklahoma, one of the best run defenses in the country. I think they have like the second best defense in the country, so very good game there. I think I would take Oklahoma in that one with how they're playing right now. John Mateer, very hard person to stop. Their run game is very, very difficult to stop, and he can pass if he needs to as well. Didn't really need to pass in that Alabama game because it was just he only had 130 passing yards and they were only 45 yards from the end zone every time they got the ball, so didn't really need to do much there. Miami, Ole Miss, I'd probably take Ole Miss playing Texas A&M there, and then probably take Texas A&M, and then Alabama, Oregon. I think that would be a really good game in Eugene. Alabama would have to go on the road. Late December. Could potentially be rainy, cold, snowy up there in Oregon. That would be a great, great atmosphere to play in. I think I would take Alabama just because Oregon really hasn't proven to me that they're an elite team. They had the one loss to Indiana, which is a good team, but I don't know. I just don't know if I trust Oregon. Alabama also sitting in a spot where now they play Oregon in the first round in Eugene, so that could be a tough game. But I think if they get past that Oregon game, they go play Indiana, who has a good defense. But I think I would put them over Indiana as well, and they would get back into that semifinal. And most likely, I would have them playing Texas A&M in that semifinal, potential SEC rematch, championship rematch game there. So that'd be a great game. And Ohio State, Georgia would probably be my other semifinal based on this playoff. And that would also be a great game. So we'd have a great semifinal off my prediction here. Obviously, if Oregon wins, then you have an Oregon-Indiana rematch from earlier in the season as well. So another great game. But that's how the playoff is set up at the moment. Tulane jumps in. JMU still has the highest chance as a Power 5 school to make the playoff here. So we'll see kind of what changes with that. Miami kind of sitting in a placeholder spot and most likely not going to play for an ACC championship there. I think the highest two teams with chances to play for the ACC championship right now are Georgia Tech, UVA, which I think would be a great game there. So might see one of those teams jump in here in the next couple weeks. But as of now, those are the rankings. I think they got it right here. Top three don't change. Georgia comes up to 4. I think Alabama dropped maybe too many spots, but I mean, if you put Oklahoma at 8, I get what they were doing. They had to put Alabama behind Oklahoma, but Oklahoma jumping Notre Dame, very interesting there. Notre Dame does have 2 losses, but we'll see what happens with the rest of the season there. That is probably all I'm going to talk about in this episode of Sports Fix. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.